When I was in Paris in December to conduct Carmen at the Paris Opera, I was given the rare and exciting opportunity to examine the manuscript score of the opera at the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris. Georges Bizet's score has always been the subject of considerable controversy, since there is no single, definitive performance edition. The autograph score is a visual checkerboard, with whole sections crossed out and lots of last-minute changes scribbled in. In fact, Carmen was not a success at its premiere in 1875 at the Opéra Comique, in part because of its raw and racy treatment of its subject of sexual obsession. And Bizet died 3 months later, without having had the chance to make his own revisions. Ever since, musicologists have vied to make the most convincing performance edition, using the original manuscript and various other first editions as their references. Leafing through the autograph score, I could see why it would be a source of considerable confusion. There are inserts and corrections from no less than 6 different individuals, in addition to Bizet, who was beleaguered from all sides during the chaotic rehearsals leading up to the premiere. From historical accounts, we know that the chorus and orchestra complained about the technical demands of the score, portions of which they considered impossible to perform, and the Opéra Comique management was putting pressure on Bizet to cool down the libretto's sexier passages. An example of last-minute revisions is the women's chorus fight scene in the first act, perhaps the most challenging part of the opera to conduct, which was even more difficult prior to the changes made before the premiere. Here in the manuscript is evidence of a work in progress. Bizet had originally composed a men's chorus of soldiers as a counterpoint to the women, but it was so musically demanding that he agreed to give it up. You can see here how the men's vocal line is scribbled over. Also, in the middle of the scene, Bizet had composed a 54-bar orchestral interlude. That, too, was dispensed with, but for the different reason that it was considered too tepid and slowed the stage action. You can see how it was cut with big strokes over the pages in multiple colors, suggesting it was excised by more than one hand. And finally, here at the coda, where the quarreling comes to a climax, Bizet wrote accelerando, but it is crossed out with good reason, since the tempo is already so fast that the chorus wouldn't be able to keep up with the orchestra. As you've seen, examining the original score is a forensic exercise into the creation of one of opera's greatest and most enduring works of art. Even though we know they exist, the men's chorus and the long interlude are almost never performed, and the final accelerando is quite rightly ignored. Having studied the original score, I now have a better understanding of why.